All right, Evergreen team, listen up. Welcome to a really crucial explainer that's all about keeping every single one of us safe on site. Today, we are going to break down the mandatory safe work practices for using a chain fall. You know, getting this right isn't just a good idea, it's an absolute requirement to prevent serious incidents. So let's get into it. So let's just start with the biggest question, right? Every single time we use a chain hoist, we're managing a pretty significant risk. So what is it? What's that one thing that turns a totally standard everyday lift into a potential disaster? Well, when you look at the incident reports, it almost always comes down to three core failures. And there they are. These are the big three. Overloading, trying to lift way more than the gear can handle. Improper rigging, basically setting up the lift all wrong. And equipment failure, which is just using gear that's already busted. Every single safety rule we are about to go over is designed specifically to stop one of these three things from ever happening.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down following the natural flow of the job. First, we'll talk about everyone's role. Then, we'll cover the gear you gotta have, the critical checks you do before the lift, how to pull off the lift perfectly, and then we'll finish with the absolute hard stop rules that you can never, ever break.
Okay, let's dive right into section 1. Look, safety isn't just one person's job, it's a team sport. On a professional site like ours, everybody has a part to play, and knowing exactly what you're responsible for, well, that's the foundation for a safe operation. And here's the bottom line. We all share this responsibility. Supervisors and foremen, it's on you to make sure your crew is trained, that they know the risks, and that they have the right tools. And for every single worker on the crew, your job is to be competent, to always be looking for hazards, to inspect your gear before you touch it, and, this is huge, you have to report any damage or concern to your foreman right away. That simple conversation can literally save a life. All right, moving on to section 2. Before a single hook goes on, you need all your equipment ready to go. A safe lift always starts with a professional setup. And listen, this isn't just a suggestion list, okay? This is the required toolkit. Of course, you need the chain fall, but you also need radios for clear communication, delineators and signs to lock down your work zone, the right PPE like your eye pro and gloves, and a first aid kit ready to go. Being prepared, that's step 1.
I want you to burn this into your brain. This is the single most important safety feature on any hoist, the SWL, or Safe Working Load. That marking isn't a suggestion, it's not a guideline, it is the absolute engineered limit of that piece of equipment. We're going to come back to this, but just remember, the SWL is the law of the lift.
Which brings us to section 3. What you do before the lift is often way more important than what you do during it. This pre-lift check is your first, and your best, line of defense against something going wrong.
This 3-step process right here, it's mandatory. Every single time. First, put your eyes and your hands on the equipment. Look for any damage on the hoist. Run your hand down the chain. Feel for any kinks or twists. And always test that safety latch. Second, do a full 360 of the work area. And third, lock it down. Use those delineators and signs to keep anybody who isn't part of the lift far away. All right, let's get into the action. Section 4. Executing the lift itself. We're going to frame these as the do's, the positive, mandatory actions that define a professional and, most importantly, a safe operation. First things first, it's about the foundation. Number 1, do make sure only trained and competent workers are touching this stuff. Number 2, do pick the right hoist for the job you're actually doing. And number 3, do personally check that the safe working load is clearly marked and you can read it before you even think about rigging. Next up, it's all about technique. Now, we already talked about inspection, but it is so important we have to say it again. Do a final check before that chain takes the load. Do make sure your barricaded area is totally clear. And see that tagline? That's not optional. Do use a tagline. It is the only safe way to control the load, to stop it from swinging, and to keep yourself out of the line of fire. And speaking of control, we got to talk about the center of gravity. Think of it as the load's balance point. You absolutely have to position the hook directly over this spot. Because if you're off-center even by a little bit, the second that load comes off the ground, it's going to swing hard to find that center, and you could lose control in a split second. Straight vertical lift is a stable, safe lift. And now we've reached our final and honestly our most critical section,
the never, ever rules. These aren't just best practices, guys. These are the absolute don'ts. These are the lines that you can never, ever cross on a job site. Rule number 1. It's simple. Don't operate a chain fall unless you are fully trained and authorized. 0 exceptions. This isn't a piece of equipment you just figure out. It takes specific knowledge to use it safely. Being competent isn't optional, it's the price of admission. This should be a no-brainer, but it has to be a hard rule. Don't use a hoist if the chain is kinked, twisted, or damaged in any way. A compromised chain has lost its strength. Every single damaged link is a ticking time bomb. Using it isn't taking a risk, it's causing an accident. You see damage, you tag it, you report it, you do not use it. And we're back to the golden rule, that safe working load is a hard limit, it is not a suggestion. Overloading is the #1 reason equipment fails, plain and simple. You need to know your load weight, you need to know your hoist's SWL, and you never, ever go over it. Your personal safety boils down to this one rule. Don't stand under a suspended load, ever. The area right underneath a load, they call it the drop zone for a damn good reason. It is the most dangerous place you can be on the entire site. There is no reason on earth to ever be in that spot. Period. And don't walk away. Don't leave a suspended load unattended. A lift isn't done until that load is safely back on the ground and unhooked. Leaving something hanging in the air is like leaving a live, active hazard just waiting for something to happen. You stay with the lift from start to finish. And the final hard stop. This equipment is for materials. That's it. It doesn't have the safety features needed to lift people. I don't care what the situation is. There are no exceptions to this. It's a chain fall, not an elevator. So, as we wrap this up, I want you to think about this question. Think about everything we just covered. Checking the SWL, inspecting the chain, finding that center of gravity. What's the one thing that you will personally commit to double-checking on every single lift from now on? Because that commitment, that's what keeps you and all of us safe. Thanks for your attention.